So I also wanted just to talk to you and make it very clear and try and make anyone that isn't at the level that we're at understand why we are so concerned and why we are looking and willing to do what is needed in terms of Operation Overlord. The one that came to light in the last few days is that an Afghan migrant entered a hospital, which I believe was in Liverpool, and tried to get an appointment. When he was refused the appointment, he then proceeded to attack nurses to a point where they thought they were going to die. I've seen the injuries to the woman's head. I've seen the barbaric nature of what this man did, this animal. And there's a certain pattern that seems to be arising here. And I'll tell you the reason why it's so concerning is our government have allowed thousands and thousands of Afghan migrants to resettle here in the UK. There are thousands and thousands of small boat crossings which include Afghan nationals. Now, when I heard about what had happened in the hospital, and I knew and found out that it was an Afghan migrant, that word Afghan and that word migrant is becoming far too common. If you think back to the Afghan migrant that threatened to kill Nigel Farage, convicted, put in prison, the Afghan migrant that stabbed Wayne Broadhurst, stabbed him more times than anyone could count, for anyone that's seen the video. And in May of 2025, Afghan migrants, 2 of them, were convicted. Oh, sorry, that was the time in May in 2025 where 2 Afghan migrants abducted and raped a 15-year-old girl in a park. Afghan migrant. There's Afghan migrants that have been convicted of sexual assault throughout our country. And predominantly what the left and the political classes and the even the educated classes don't understand is there's a pattern here. There's a pattern that is emerging. You know, that's one nationality of people that is coming in, and this is what they're unleashing. We're not used to this. You know, the barbaric crimes being committed by these men are alien to us. You know, we only hear about this severe violence in gang-related violence in major cities, or if a husband murders his wife, finding out she's cheated on him or something, you know, and they're very rare. But in recent years, it's becoming extremely common for men from third world countries being given refuge in our country, who then go on to commit barbaric crimes. And we can't accept it anymore. The government are complacent. The government do not understand the severity, or they do, and this is a plan, a conspiracy. You know, you don't flood your countries in the whole of Europe with third world men, you know, and know that educated people at the top of these governments wouldn't have a meeting to say, well, what impact would this have? How are these men being brought up in these countries? What's acceptable to them? Do they respect women? Is rape a commonplace within their societies of their countries? And the answer to those questions are yes. Yes, it's very common. They're in third world countries. There is no real police forces. There is no real justice. You know, men get away with lots of very, very brutal crimes. And what do you think they do once they've committed those crimes? They then leave the country. They leave the country and they come to us. So when I sit here and I talk to you about Operation Overlord, this is not some fantasy that I've got. This is because I see what's coming for our country. We are too comfortable at the moment, not realizing the dangers that are coming, not for us, but for our kids. Like, people are not getting it. Most people do, but there's still a lot that don't get it, that these issues that are coming, they are coming for our kids. You know, the patterns that we're seeing, we're at the beginning of those patterns. Over 40,000 migrants have hit our country in just this year. Now, statistically, if you break that down and you give that, let's say 10% are willing to commit horrific crimes against women and children. 5% are willing to commit terror attacks. 6% were part of ISIS, Boko Haram, Al-Qaeda, Taliban. These men are taught and trained to murder. They're taught and trained to rape, to pillage. And we're just sitting by and allowing these men to come into our communities. Why? Why are we allowing this to happen? That's a question I ask myself. A question that I can't find the answer to. I understand people's lives are important. I understand people's livelihoods are important. But you really need to look at this and understand that it's not for us that the problems will come to light in a huge way. It will be our children that suffer, that live in a society which we never lived in a country our fathers and our mothers never lived in a country our grandfathers never lived in, while the left-leaning loonies just sit by and say, you're racist. No, this has never happened before. We have never been in a position where this has been the case. You know, when the gentleman, the veteran went on to the This Morning programme and sat there and said that the sacrifices weren't worth the results we have today, you have to listen to him, because he's speaking for millions of veterans that are now dead, that fought for our freedoms, fought for our mothers and our fathers to be safe in our country. And I feel like we've let them down. I feel like we've come to a point where we should feel ashamed of what we've allowed to happen. What happened in the referendum in 2006 showed one categoric thing: that the left are very loud. The media are on their side. The media are the mouthpiece of the government. And they told everyone that Leave was never going to win. And we did. And that principle of what that means needs to be taken into this. You know, the media will never side with us. The media will never tell the truth, because that's not what they do. Politicians are not going to save us. Political parties are not going to save us. It will be down to radical action, not violence, not crimes, but action that actually yields results. And I'm committed to putting this plan with Ryan and the team in place in a way that I know that it's covered from every basis, be it the legal side, be it having the presence in France with that many people. You know, we're doing this properly. We're going to fund it properly. We're going to get everything in place so that there is no room for error. I do this because I feel it is my duty to tell you how things are. Bringing in third world men into our communities will never work. They'll never integrate. They'll never be part of our society. They are not educated enough to be to be doctors or to be engineers, a lot of them have PTSD. A lot of them have been and seen and acted on a lot of barbaric crimes. You cannot bring people back from that. And people need to understand that. And that's something I'm trying to make people understand as to why this is happening. You can call me whatever you want. You can slander me however you want, because I don't care. I don't have it inside of me when I see things said about me that it changes my direction on how I'm doing this. I think of my grandfather. My grandfather, let me show you actually, one second. Corporal Harry Jones, Sergeant Harry Jones. This man was on one of the first waves of D-Day, June 6th, 1944. He saw many of his best friends die very quickly on those beaches. He then went on to be part of some of the biggest liberation of Europe and came back a hero. This is my hero. This is who I think about when I do what I do. Now, understanding that and understanding how important it is that we do something now is paramount. So when the contacts come next week and we ask you to be part of what we're doing, I hope you will be there in entirety. It's going to be relentless. It's going to be hard. But we're going to do something that's never been done before, and we're going to take the fight directly to them. And that's what we're going to do. And we will not stop until that is the case. The Home Office is being run by a non-Christian. And the reason I say that is because how can you have a country and have a Home Office that is there to protect the home and protect us, who doesn't align with who we are and where we come from? This is a problem that people don't understand. Our Christianity, our religion, our cross, this is important in everything that we're doing. And many of you might not understand why, but it is. This is from my Holy Communion when I was a child, and I've kept it ever since. But understanding how important Christianity and our religion is to this fight is something you need to know. We're in a spiritual battle where religions are being exacerbated in our country, that certain religions are becoming a higher religion than our own religion. And that can't really be the case for a Christian country. I've got no problem in people, being a Christian, being a Muslim, being a Jew, being whatever, a Buddhist, being whatever. But understand this. In 20 to 30 years, the demographic change that we're seeing today and what it will be like in 20 to 30 years is something that's very, very sad. Very sad for many of us that see it for what it is. The left don't align with Christianity. If you look at all the high-profile lefties in our country, high-profile medias, none of them ever speak about Christianity and how important it is. They're not Christians. They're atheists. They don't see the importance of Christianity. Well, I do. So understanding what's happening in our country is something that's happening now. People are seeing for themselves. Years ago, we had to sort of force information down to you for you to get the gist of what was going on. And now you see it for yourselves. You're intelligent people. You're seeing it. So I will not stop until this happens. We will not stop until the boats stop. I am committing my life to this. I run a business. I have children. And risks come with that. But more risks come with doing nothing. And I'm not prepared to do nothing. So I hope when we all get together and we do what's needed, that we can look at our forefathers and look at our granddads and say, we're trying to make up for what we've done wrong. And I hope that they would be proud of us for what we're looking to do. Thank you, and I'll see you all very soon.